And if you are in the position of privilege to have time to think, sit with it, and really think about how your purpose is bigger than yourself.
Hey Zouk family, welcome back. It's another chance to catch up with someone who's a bit of a catch for me. This person is a KL wellness legend. I used to go to her classes religiously half a decade ago. She was a spinning instructor, but she's also, for nearly a decade, been one of the most prominent yoga teachers in KL who focuses on the core principles and how you can utilize yoga in your day-to-day life. She's an ambassador for Lululemon. She walks the walk, talks the talk, but really she is an expert in her field, and I always found her classes some of the best I've ever been to. Sandra, you have a huge following. I haven't been able to join you for about 4 years, but you're growing in stature and you're obviously doing phenomenally well for yourself. How have you been?
Thank you for saying such nice things. I've been great. I've been hermiting quite a bit actually, and just putting a little bit more focus into how I want to teach a little bit differently and how I'm going to grow as a teacher. You know, just taking some time off, studying a lot in this CMCO period while I was stuck at home. It's a nice time to be upgrading our skill set. So that's pretty much what I've been focusing on lately, which is quite fun.
So I would describe you as the teacher's teacher because you're one of the people that other fitness teachers will come to the classes of. But you've also told me you find beginners amazingly interesting and challenging to teach as well. So tell us about your fitness career as a whole, because there's the spinning aspect and there's the yoga, but then how you look at yoga as bringing the principles and core values into day-to-day life, which is something you said to me previously. So how did your journey begin?
So I started with yoga. It was pretty much like the first workout that I ever went to, like the first proper workout. I started when I was about 22, I think. I had scoliosis. I have scoliosis. You can't heal from that. And I was suffering just debilitating back pains. Also, I was partying a lot. I was wearing a lot of high heels and jumping a lot in clubs. So it got to a point where it was pretty bad. My chiropractors told me that I couldn't do any kind of impact sport. All I could pretty much do was swim. And I'm like, I'm 22. There's no way that is not the way. And then I found a yoga class near my place and I fell in love with it right off the bat. And I still go back to Manasa Yoga in SS2, Kalijaya. My teacher is Manoj Kaimal, and he continues to be my teacher today. I feel very grateful that I've been able to learn yoga from a teacher who I've managed to develop a teacher-student relationship, and a very strong one at that. I would have never started teaching yoga if he didn't tell me I was ready to be a teacher, or if he had not recognized that in the first place. I remember there was a time in class and I was assisting someone new in class who happened to have set her mat up next to me, and it was an intermediate class as well. I don't think she really expected what was about to go down in that class. And after which, my teacher Manoj came up to me and was like, you should really consider taking your YTT. Which is the yoga teacher training, right? And I was like, nah, that ain't happening because I don't have the patience for people. I'm never going to be a teacher. I would very much like not to do that. And he said, no, you don't have to be a teacher. You can just expand on your studies and learn. And I was like, I could do that. That's interesting. So I did. And then now I'm a teacher. I don't know how he's done that. I have no idea how he's done that over the years.
And now you're a teacher for nearly half a decade and you love it.
I love it. I absolutely do. Over the years, I've kind of tapered down my practice from the fancy asanas, asana yoga, they call it, where you practice postures and making shapes with your body and hyper flexibility, being upside down. I've kind of thinned it out into functional, sustainable yoga practice. It is a lot about breathing, a lot about being in the present moment, a lot about being grounded in where you are, and a lot of the practice of self-reflection and awareness, internal awareness, I think is the most important thing. To me, there is a huge difference now in the way I teach, and I've fallen in love with teaching beginners and people who've never done yoga before. And they're like, what is it? Is it just stretching? And I'm like, oh, honey, it's so much more than that. And we'll get down to it, like the step by step, breath by breath, sensation by sensation, movement by movement style practice that allows us space to discover what our strengths and our weaknesses are. Space for us to be safe and a practice that is not overly self-critical. I think more importantly, teaching from a space of kindness and patience. I've definitely had to learn that over time.
I see you do a lot of classes, and one of the things that you get a lot of hugely complimentary feedback for is the amount of time you invest in the students. You're not one of those instructors who just sits at the front, does it, and then leaves people to learn on their own behalf. You walk around the class, you correct the incorrect postures, you explain to people where they're going wrong. And is this one of the components that you enjoy the most about teaching the beginners, is the educational part?
Absolutely. And also, everyone's body is different. So everyone's body is a puzzle. And every class is different. No class is the same. And it's a huge learning component for me as well, to be able to work on the fly and to be able to understand from an empathetic perspective where people are coming from in their practice and what they need more than what I think I should be teaching as a teacher. Right? If whatever I'm planning to teach that day is just not happening for anyone, that plan is out. Like, we've got to figure something out for everybody in the room right now. At the end of the day, everybody should have a takeaway that makes them feel proud of themselves, that surprises their own capabilities, and that makes them want to learn more, you know? And I think that's the hallmark of a good teacher. That's how my teacher made me feel in class. And that's what made me stick to this practice the whole time, which has evolved over time. I run, I'm a spin instructor. I do a whole bunch of different sports, and that yogic focus and philosophy just kicks in every time. It's like second nature. And I don't see how it's possible to not be like that, you know? So much benefits.
I came to your spinning classes religiously. It was almost like classes up, try and book.
Yeah, I remember that.
But tell me this. So yoga is, on the one hand, I would say, a much more calming, reflectant, flow-based exercise. And then you're a spinning instructor, which is super upbeat, super vibe-oriented. Leave there, your heart's racing, but you're high-fiving. What do you personally get out of both sides of the equation?
Party on a bike. Hey, I mean, I think everyone's highly multifaceted, and being on the bike, number one, cardiovascular exercises are necessary, right? You can't do one and not do the other. There has to be some sense of balance. And I think what has kept me indoor cycling for the longest time is my love for music. I live in sound and music. My library is extensive, and I love being able to share that with people in a space that is healthy, in a space where they're getting a workout, where they're feeling like they're a part of a community, and they're feeling productive at the same time. It doesn't always have to be a party. A cardio party works for me, and it works for a lot of people. I'm happy to share that. I get a cardio workout in at the same time. It's great. I love it. I absolutely enjoy it.
You don't get the hangover, you get to get your club vibes, but you also get to do yourself good rather than harm. You deplete calories rather than add calories. So it's a win-win.
Exactly. And you get to practice like a different sense of focus in a different space. I think being able to vary your activities like that allow you to be very versatile as a person as well. You're training different facets of yourself. And I like that. I think that's necessary for growth, which is why I've stuck to these two very varying disciplines, with seemingly varying in vibe and its energy. But I think the practice of focus and the practice of being present in that room and being switched on in those 45 minutes is the same, and it's important.
Has exercise got you through, and music actually, got you through the troubles of 2020? Because it's been a tough year for everyone.
Of course. I think music and exercise have gotten me through the troubles of my life. How about that? Just everything. There's always a song for a mood, and there's always a flow for some kind of sadness, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think in my early 20s, it would have been drinking would have got me through most of the problems, but they just compounded to it. But now, going to the weights room when I'm frustrated or going for a run when I need to deep think is probably the best solution for these things. And it's always with earphones in my ear. Always.
Yeah.
That's why I used to love about the spinning classes. I just got such a good vibe. And your music selection was really up there. I've been to some and I've been like, meh, but yours is really spot on. You had some good hip hop vibes in there as well.
Always, yes. I play a lot of disco, a lot of house these days. My music has also evolved. I still love my hip hop, but I play a lot more other stuff these days too. It's
If,
always
if,
nice to have a different journey, always.
if I could have swapped generation, I would have lived through the 1970s disco era. I would swap tomorrow.
I say that all the time.
Big flowery
Absolutely.
shirt, big afro. I would have been there.
Yeah.
It would have been the bomb.
I
So
would have worn all the colors and all the beads.
yeah, that's the way. Well, sadly, wrong lifetime, but you can still bring it for us. Now, I want to ask you, there's another person in your life that I would have loved to attend it. In fact, if I'm really honest, Sandra, it was kind of the reason I did this interview, because I wanted to see the other special lady in your life, but she's not here. Where is she?
She is at my mom's. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring her with me. Joseph's talking about my big bundle of joy. She's a Doberman. She's Luna. She's about yay tall. She's beautiful. She's got ears that point up all the way up to the sky, and her personality just matches that as well. But yeah, unfortunately, I just moved into my new place. I'm just kind of settling in over the CMCO, and I'm not being able to have her here over. Really wish I could.
But soon, and she's a star of your Instagram, so definitely worth checking out. She's a beautiful dog, and you don't see many Dobermans. I don't see many Dobermans in KL, and she definitely stands out.
Dobermans are a lot to handle, so it takes a lot of patience. It takes a it takes a beginner's yoga teacher to be able to raise one. I'll tell you that.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, Sandra, what's next? I mean, you're already a Lululemon ambassador. As I said, you have an amazing career. You do a million workshops. You get invited constantly to participate in all the premium events for fitness. You have a huge following. You're basically a superstar in your own right. What's next for you?
Oh, for me, right now, there's a lot of study going on. There's a lot of inward study about how I want to move forward as a teacher, and how I want to move forward with my content as well. So I'm taking a little bit of a break, I guess, from being very active outwardly in order to grow myself and to study the market and to understanding what are the gaps that needs to be filled, what are the spaces in between that we're not paying attention to that people could benefit from. And I think I'm just kind of taking time to put myself in those little spaces of silence and observation to see what needs to grow and what needs to be studied. And I'm really enjoying being in that space as well. I think, learning is a lifelong thing, and there's no teaching without any consistent learning and upgrading of that skill set, always putting, yourself to the test and finding your edges. That's the space that I'm in right now. I think I've retreated a little bit more from like the physical testing, of my capacities, and moved into more of my mental facets and capacities, kind of exploring those areas and learning to be a little bit more empathetic, to be gentler, to be softer, not just with myself, but also, with the people around me. It's important to facilitate safer, comfortable learning spaces where people feel happy, to want to be there to learn. They shouldn't feel like they're being pressured to learning. And
Do you find
I'd be able to cultivate that.
Do you find that your use of yoga, maybe meditation, helps you with finding this peace that you're talking about now in order to give yourself that greater platform to learn?
I've been going to therapy for the past 2 years. And what surprised me the most is that how much therapy helped me be a much better teacher, right? Because therapy then gave me the lexicon in being able to communicate different things very differently to all the different people and to connect with them from a more empathetic perspective. and to not also I think it kind of helped me learn how to protect my energy a little bit better, so I'm not develop skills to be able to remove myself from like a victim mentality, to remove myself from negativity that doesn't have anything to do with me, to be able to tell the difference between teaching for greater growth of the people around me versus teaching from an individualistic self-love type of space. And I think being able to tell the difference between the two was very important for me, and therapy helped me with that and helped me understand people a little bit better in that sense.
So utilizing your skill set of teaching rather than for self-validation, more for the mentoring of other people.
Definitely.
That's an amazing space to be in. And I like I said to you, the teacher's teacher, I know a lot of people love your classes. I mean, I tell you this in pure honesty, not saying this because I'm talking to you, but I genuinely came to your classes because it was your classes. I really enjoyed it. You used to take the time afterwards just to say hi, chat. It was a great vibe. You were always smiling. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't have missed one for the world. And I think you have that connection with the students, and the students will follow you. And I think it's, even if you've been working on the various aspects you've chosen to, as we all should constantly try and look to areas that we want to self-improve. You had it 5 years ago. You had that kind of raw connection that very few teachers actually have. There's a difference between going to a class because you want to burn some fat or you want to lose some weight, or going because you want to be led by a teacher. And that's why I went to your classes. I wanted to go specifically to get that vibe and that buzz that came exclusively with being taught by you. So I think it's phenomenal. And if you're working on that, then great. I want to ask you this, Sandra, because I ask absolutely everyone that I talk to, because I think it's a great learning curve, especially for super accomplished professionals like yourself. There's a lot of graduates that watch these podcasts because Zouk is a very millennial brand. We have a huge following in Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and now obviously in Vegas because we're opening in Las Vegas next April.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what's your advice to people who might be coming out of graduating? The world's hit 2020, just bad luck, right? And they're incredibly anxious and they don't know what to do with their lives. So the anxiety is one side, because I know that it's something that through your teaching you can really help people with. And the second thing is people who might want to pursue the line of career you have. Answer either or together. What would be your advice to people facing 2020 right now?
That's a tough one these days, huh? Because I think in light of how privilege is being discussed, especially in 2020, we've realized that the people who get paid the least are essential to the survival of society. We now know that the economy crashes when people stop buying unnecessary things. So I think coming out of graduation, if you have time and if you are in the position of privilege to have time to think, sit with it and really think about how your purpose is bigger than yourself. I think that's a very important place to start. And I think the why that you find from that space is the why that will keep you going for longer. It's the why that will contribute not just your own well-being, but also the well-being of the other people around you. No matter how small that circle is, there will always be a knock-on effect. And I think one of the more important things is to not bypass the fact that 2020, 2021 will be difficult. And in that difficulty, you will find the edges of your comfort zone and you will learn to push them. And as long as you're in that space, I think you needn't worry too much about what will happen next, because nobody knows.
I think it's phenomenal that you touched on something that I've touched on previously with other people. And I love the way you describe it. It's the sense of purpose that your life, you specifically, you individually have. and the why, and even being kind to one person during this time can have a much greater effect than being a billionaire or winning a sports competition or whatever it is. It's just, as you say, we all have our sense of purpose and we should all be proud of what it is, because I find that a lot of people get distracted by Jeff Bezos becoming the richest man in the world and say, well, I haven't quite achieved that. Oh my God, I'm such a failure. I can't believe It's not true. It's not true. And no one has described it that well that you said. It's just why you want to do something will define who you are, no matter how difficult it is. Just keep persisting with it. I mean, your career was not an overnight success. You've built your way up, and as you say, you've gone through, which I think is incredibly candid, and I have a huge amount of respect for. You've seen a therapist to self-improve, but you've got to where you are, and it's hugely admirable where you are. I mean, everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows who you are for the right reasons, because you are excellent at what you do. So that's a great message. Find your sense of purpose. And so it leaves me with my last question, which is, what's next for you? What is next?
What is next? I don't know. And I think that's the exciting part about it, the fact that I don't know what's next, because I am very willing to be surprised with what's next. You know, like I said, I'm in a space where I can, after all those years of what I've done, I can kind of afford to sit and study and wait and observe. So what's next? When I know, you'll know.
Watch this space. Watch this space.
Watch this space. Exactly.
Well, Sandra, look, as I said, this is a real catch for me, A, to catch up with you, and B, to get you on here. I really wanted to talk to you, and I'm so happy that I did.
My pleasure.
Thanks for talking to us, and congratulations for your ongoing success, because it is a huge success, and you deserve everything you are and have. And I can't wait, because whatever is next is bound to be successful, and there's learnings from you that we can all make.
I sure hope so.
So Sandra, very quickly before we go, if people want to reach out to you for yoga lessons, if people want to find out which classes you're teaching, what's the best way to get in touch?
Get on my Instagram. I'm at Sandra Woo, WOOO, 3 O's. I'm pretty active on there, but otherwise you can find me at Club Aloha. You can find me, I teach spin classes there. I also teach movement-based mobility type class there as well, which is actually very popular among people who are rehabbing injuries, people who need maintenance work, athletes who grind all day and don't recover enough in their own time. And I also teach yoga at Karma Yoga in Bangsar.
Well, Sandra, stay in touch, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep passing on the immense positive vibes that you do, and we can't wait to catch up in person when all this nonsense is over.
Absolutely, can't wait. Thank you for having me today. That was such a pleasure. I really enjoyed this chat, and you know what, we haven't spoken in years, but I love how we just picked it up right off the bat.
Yeah,
and we just got right on it. It's like we never even left. It's great. Love it.
I still haven't met your dog though, so that's the only negative of this whole scenario.
That will happen. You'll see her.
Sandra, take care. All our love, and look after yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Enjoy.